Hi, Mr. George. Welcome to Jeff's Podcast Academy. It's really great to have you here. So please tell a bit about yourself and how you started in this podcasting journey and, started Auphonic and everything. So it would be great to hear from you.
Hello, Jeff. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It is an honor for me as well to be here. So how I did start podcasting. I basically started as a heavy podcast listener. And I listened to some podcasters which always had problems with audio post-production, so leveling the files and generating output files like MP3s and things like that. And at some point I thought, oh, that's actually not that difficult because I'm a programmer and audio engineer myself. And so we tried to automate some steps of the audio post-production chain, basically, and this afterwards resulted in the Auphonic system.
That's great. So can you give you an overview of how the Auphonic works? Just to get a brief to a podcasters who are listening, they want to explore the platform. Just an overview on how it actually works.
Sure. So what do we do? So we try to automate the audio post-production workflow. What does it mean? So for example, you record something and then you have a finished file, and from there we take it and analyze the file and see where are music parts or different speakers, or where are just background noises and things like that. Then we do various audio algorithms on them, for example, equalizing the levels between different speakers and also between music parts. So because you have to adjust these parts quite differently, because speakers can have big loudness differences and you must change the volume very fast. So if one speaker is very quiet and one is very loud. But on the other hand, the music parts, you don't want to destroy the whole dynamic of music, because that's important, of course. So this is the leveling part, so that all levels are on one good level, basically. Mm-hmm. Then we do audio restoration algorithms, like filtering out unwanted frequencies or filtering out noises and hums and other things. Mm-hmm. So basically, everything what should not be included in a speech-like podcast or music-like program. Yeah. And various kind of other special algorithms, of course. And after this audio algorithm part, there comes the encoding part. So we can create multiple output files of your results. So for example, MP3, AAC files, Opus files, or also video files. You can add images to create a video or an audiogram. And then if you have all these result files, you can distribute it on your servers or to YouTube or to your podcast hosting provider and other services automatically. And also speech recognition. We integrated some external speech recognition services. So this is not developed by ourselves. We just use some APIs for that. And this can be integrated as well to create some automatic transcripts of the recording.
Understood. So I'm just curious, how would you find what algorithm that actually is required for a particular audio? Because as far as I've seen in the website, there are 8 algorithms that I've seen. So, probably add levelers and everything and stuff. So do you think that's the only set that, any audio editing, even any audio editor who's starting to edit the audios is actually required to look after? So how do you identify those?
Well, that's a good question, actually. So what do you basically need? I mean, you can, of course, use much more, but we on our end try to make only technical decisions. So we don't want to do any artistic changements or any subjective changes in the file, or at least we try to not do that, because that's of course always very subjective. If you do that, you need, of course, many more algorithms or other things. But we just try to technically improve the quality. This means loudness corrections and removing noises or things like that. This is, of course, also not not only technically, because you have to define what is a noise. So sometimes a dog might be a noise in the background, but sometimes you really need it as a content. So that's not that easy, but we have to try to find a compromise there. And yeah, the basic algorithm. So what are the basic algorithms? You need some filtering so that the spectral shape of the voice and the music is somehow okay. Then you need some loudness normalization and leveling. So this means that different files have a similar loudness on average. This is loudness normalization. And that the loudness within one file is somehow adjusted. This is the leveling. And yeah, then you can remove some sounds like noises or hums or other things. This is what we call noise reduction or audio restoration.
Got it. I think, the loudness factor really, actually, I kind of did a couple of, episodes, just edited on the free versions. And for me, the one thing I really realized is that the loudness part is kind of, for me, is like extremely helpful. Like sometimes, I kind of like talk a little bit more, but sometimes when my brain is thinking more thoughts, I might, like my sound will become less and less and less. So in that case, we don't want the audience to just increase the volume whenever you want to and whenever they reduce. So I think a lot of podcasters might find it really, really useful. So yeah, I that part I totally understand on that. So it's really great that how audio quality should be really important, for podcasting. I mean, it's fully podcast, like, audio platforms and everything. But I have seen people talk about, content quality versus audio quality. Now, what do you want to say to those people who say that, these things, like, people don't prefer a lot of audio quality? Now, right now we are recording this, but previously you saw my laptop microphone was, on, and we were hearing some disturbances and everything. So if that was used, even the quality is good, people might not hear that. So what do you want to say to those people who are just saying audio quality doesn't matter a lot? As an audio expert, what are your thoughts?
Well, I would say content is, of course, very important, because that's the main issue why you are doing a podcast. I would say audio quality is just a precondition or a requirement for it. So because at the end, it's not important, it just should be okay. And if it's not okay, it is a problem, because then it's difficult to listen to it. It's for example, especially if you have big loudness jumps, so you are in the underground, for example, and then there's a quiet speaker, then you don't hear anything. You have to increase the volume, then comes the loudspeaker, then it blasts into your ears, and also if there are hardcore noises, for example. So I would say audio quality is not important, it just should be okay.
Yeah. So it's like not too bad, shouldn't be too bad, right? Just for the people.
Yes.
Got it. So what any new updates that Auphonic is actually having, like, people could hear about it, other than the things that you guys are doing? Anything in the future, something interesting going on?
Yes, actually there is a lot of going on at the moment in our development team. So we are just creating many new algorithms, many new models. So for example, as we discussed before, it is in noise reduction, for example, our current system is or was very conservative. So we only removed very static noises. We add now different modes to it, so that you can also remove other noises, which sometimes might be a signal you want to include in your podcast or in your video, like dogs or whatever. But sometimes you want to remove it. So we will add various parameters for that. And also other things like removing echoes and reverbs and EQing automatically the voice, or undoing effects from bad encodings or from recordings via Zoom, for example, as we are doing now. Often you get encoding artifacts if you do a remote connection. So yeah, we are currently working a lot of audio in the field of the audio restoration algorithms, and there will be quite some few updates in the next month about that.
That's great. So just curious, so when you mentioned that your development team is working on it, so I guess like all that's the audio editing, that's done mostly by AI. Some code, is it done, or is it like people?
Yes. So this is basically, you have models, they are trained with lots of data. So, and the big job is, of course, to create all these data sets, for example, with all the different noise files. So it depends which files you define as noise or which files you define as signal and things like that. And also some signal processing algorithms, of course, and classifiers which detect where are music parts and speech parts. So it's a mixture of many algorithms.
All right. So it's mostly like, the kind of data learning and machine learning parts where you kind of, put models in there and it gets trained to find the, the places and just do it the same again. Kind of an automation stuff, right?
Yes, exactly. We just try to automate the post-production chain, basically.
Good. So just curious, since you went to actually this automation AI processes, if you don't mind, do you have like any take on how this podcasting might go into the space of web3 totally in the space on that? So you must have heard a lot about web3, like blockchain and a lot of like people coming into and trying to do different stuff. So your model is entirely based on automation, and I'm sure in the future, I mean, even audio editors, if there are people who sit in or edit audios, I don't know whether that would be possible or not. A lot of jobs are going because of that automations and everything. So any take on that, how podcasting would grow, or at least the audio field would grow in that space?
If you did not really understand your question,
so like probably in the
what Web3 has to do with our algorithms.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think that any blockchain things are relevant for us, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So
I see. That's good, because
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, the reason being is that whenever the automation comes into place in a lot of podcasting fields, I've seen people kind of jumping onto this Web3, like creating a blockchain and everything for that. It's just podcasting hasn't like explored the space on that. It's like 0.00001% of that podcasting space was explored in that. So that's one of the reasons why I thought your company is kind of like going towards that or not. So just want to ask that. Yeah.
No, we are just more in the algorithm, artificial intelligence, signal processing, machine learning area. But one other nice feature we are releasing soon, so it's almost finished. For example, this is also for automation, but more on the website. So a watch folder. So what does it mean? We have connections to various external servers, it's called in our system. So for example, to your server, SFTP connection, or to your Google Drive or Dropbox. And now you can define a watch folder and create a preset for it with all your settings. So, and then when you put a file into this folder, for example, in the Dropbox folder, then we will take it automatically from this folder and process it with the preset. Then it can be distributed somewhere else as well. So put into another Dropbox folder, for example, or on YouTube or another server. So you can automate this whole processing workflow without using the web interface or anything. You just have to put the file into the folder, basically.
Got it. So in case anyone wants to edit, like for example, I'm sure once the process is done, you will get a preview, like how the podcast sounds before and after. You'll be getting a preview, right? So in case people want to edit in that space, is it possible, or do you have any option for that if they want to change something in that particular space?
No, at the moment we have no audio editing options, so you cannot cut the audio in our web interface. Maybe we will add this in future. There are some interesting projects already in this direction, but you can of course change the audio algorithms in our system and try different parameters and process it again and things like that.
Understood. Great. So just want to just go on for a couple of things that before go into the final part is that like I know that you're actually an automation company, and you probably are kind of like the opposite of podcast editors. Like you're completely automating everything. So I just want to ask, just for the sake, like what do you think are the important audio factors, like probably look after the podcast editing, like something that you guys do in the automation space, but for podcast editors, they can't sit and see all the 8 algorithmic factors, like audio noise, they can't just pick and pluck everything else. It would take hours and hours of work. So any important factors that you think that audio editors should focus on to make a audio, as good as possible?
Yes, sure. So first of all, I don't think that we will automate everything, or that it's possible to automate everything, but because in the end, for example, you have to cut somehow the content of your podcast, and I think it's not wise to give these content decisions to an automated system, I guess, or at least for now, maybe in 10 years, who knows. But yeah, what is important in editing? Well, I think first of all, basically these principles we discussed before, so that there are not big level jumps between different speakers. I would say it's also important to leave enough headroom, I would say. So this is the global loudness, or you should not try to be the loudest of all, because then you will just distort your sound, basically. So therefore, loudness normalization is of course a great tool, also if you do manual editing. And also, of course, the source material is very important. So the recording process itself and the microphone. So try that there is not too much noise and not too much reverb from the room. So therefore, it's good that the microphone is not very far away from the mouth, for example, not on the other end of the room, for example.
Yeah.
So, and then I think then you can do much wrong.
Got it. So really great. So I really want to ask this, question like on the start itself, but I really got straight away. So, starting Auphonic, I'm sure you must have gotten through a lot of processes, gathering the team, building strategies, getting clients and all that stuff. So I really want to understand the root process, like how it all started, and like a kind of a step-by-step process in a story way, like how it went, because I'm sure there's a lot of podcasters who really want to build kind of digital products, but they're really stuck to know how it's done. I mean, not exactly as what you have built, but something similar. For example, let's say a podcast guest making platform, or a podcast monetization platform. The hard part for them to understand is like whiteboarding the ideas, or the processes. So how did you guys grow from here to where you are right now? So just in a story way, it would be great to hear about that.
Yeah, that's also a good question. So I think what was important in our initial process is to have really some podcasters which need this solution and which can give you really good feedback. So, for example, at the very beginning, we had a very prominent German podcaster who always spoke to us about his ideas and what are his problems in the production process. Also, some test files already from his recordings. And yeah, then we got feedback from other podcasters as well, and did a first test system. So I think it is really good to have some feedback from real users really early, or yourself need it so much that you know what you're doing, of course. And from there on, so start with a simple prototype. So we just built a small web tool at the beginning, and then try to improve the system step by step. So for example, we then after the first prototype, I applied for a grant here in Austria. Then there we get some money to also hire someone else, and this was valid for 1 year, for example. And yeah, then other people came to the project. Then it's of course a new way of working again. If there is someone else also working with you, so the process will change, of course. And then after that, we introduced. So at the beginning, our system was totally free, so everyone could use it. There were not so many users, of course, yet. And after this process, after this 1 year of the grant, we then introduced our pricing model. So now we have a freemium model where every user can process 2 hours of audio for free per month. So every month you get 2 hours again. And if you need more, you can just purchase additional credits to it. So the idea is so that small podcasters can still use the system, and more heavy users pay a little bit for it. Yeah, and then we got our first revenue, and then it slowly started to become a business, basically.
That's great. That's great. I guess that's really interesting, because while starting out, you did offer it for free, and I think that's what a lot of people actually don't get it. They want to start everything money basis at the start itself, when you don't have like beta testing. They don't do free stuff, and then they just want to get money at first. It's kind of like really I don't know, at least for me, I think that it's not realistic when there's tons of same product like similar to yours product is built around the world. I guess it won't make sense. So awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. So Mr. George, thank you so much.
And for us, the goal was also always not just to get some money for it. So we wanted to build a system which helps people to do all the audio processing, because I didn't understand it before as well. But if you have not much experience in the audio space, it's very hard to set parameters of a compressor or a limiter or a EQ. But if you're really into this field, you don't understand why it's so hard. So at the beginning, you really have to understand that it is hard, and you try to automate it. And so we try to help these podcasters at the beginning, and now also other fields, as, of course. And also now I think it's for us not so, or at least for me, not so important to get a new user just that he or she pays for it. It's more important for us to get happy new users which really like our system, because then they will also recommend us to other people, and at the end some bigger company will use us and pay for it as well.
Yeah, got it. And I think I really understand when you said that audio is kind of really hard to understand, because I've been podcasting for almost 3 years, and out of the 3 years, the one thing I mastered is the video part of the podcasting. Like it's just booming right now after pandemic, but I really enjoy the video parts of like cutting out the clips, or just recording the videos, editing them on YouTube and everything. But the audio part is still like a huge mystery to me. And whenever I edit out, I mean, after editing it, when I hear my own audio, I feel like, but it's the same. I mean, no matter what effects I put, it's like it just feels the same on my ears. So I guess it really needs a lot of practice to understand, like where you're actually tuning the entire content. But I think Auphonic actually really helped a lot. When I kind of put the audio in it and remove the noises and everything. I even ran an ad, using that audio. So it really helped a lot in that space. So I really have to thank you for that. Really.
Yeah, thanks. And also for video, it's of course important, because most video producers just focus on the video. And someone said to me, you will know it's a good video if the audio is good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Awesome. So, Mr. George, thank you so much, for hopping on the show. It really means a lot. I'm really sorry that I dragged you onto the video. I understand the condition, but thank you so much for, taking your time. In case people want to find you and talk about Auphonic and, the services, it would be great, to know where that would be. So, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, thanks a lot for the interview. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So guys, I'll definitely give everything in the description below, the links and everything, so you can guys go and check it out. And until next time, this is Jeffrey signing off. Thank you so much, guys.